Morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for that. Please remember that Facebook keeps these shows on our Facebook page, so you can always go back throughout the day if you can't catch us first thing in the morning and check us out later. We do upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have audio and video versions there for you to check out. So we recommend, if you get a second, please check it out online. They are free. Getting into your traffic this morning, on-ramps are slow with some heavy delays just after O'Neill Lane on I-12 westbound, so please keep that in mind. There's minor delays on 4-H Club Road, River Road, and 190 at that intersection on the west side of Denham Springs, and some minor delays on 64 heading into Central. It's currently 77 degrees. Pretty warm this morning. 93 degrees is your high. 71 going to be your overnight low. So it's going to be another warm day. Probably 96 with that heat index. Want to get into these mitigation efforts in COVID-19 real quick because we are talking about the governor and schools today. Those mitigation efforts: wear a mask in public. It is a mandate. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. Control your cough and sneezing with an elbow or a tissue, preferably your own elbow. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less, and stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor and try to stay home to work if at all possible. Promised you those COVID-19 statistics. Currently in Louisiana, 124,461 confirmed cases. That's total over the lifespan of since we started tracking this. 3,937 deaths. 1,449,857 tests, 74,246 have recovered, 1,487 are hospitalized on 240 ventilators. Now, the number of new cases per day is kind of leveling off. That is a good sign. And those hospitalizations are starting to drop statewide. Also a good sign. In Livingston Parish, 2,718 cases. Again, that's since this has started to be tracked. 49 deaths and 25,625 tests. Good morning, Mr. Harris. Thanks for joining us. Getting into what the governor said yesterday, we are extending phase 2 another 3 weeks, so it will run through August 28th. That will be the first chance for the state to advance into phase 3. So again, phase 2, some of those things that have been mandated throughout phase 2 will remain mandated. So the masks will stay in place, bars will remain closed, and interior or indoor seating for restaurants will remain reduced for the time being. So one of the things that they showed yesterday at the press conference was that the data showed that we are starting to flatten our new curve, but we're not quite there yet. So they want to give it another 3 weeks before we get into phase 3. Again, they said that we are moving in the right direction as a state, so that is a good sign. And they did say that based on when the mask mandate was sort of pushed out, it did have an early effect and more so of an effect as people started to see those big gains, especially, or big case gains, and hospitalizations start to grow at a rapid rate there at the end of July, last week and a half of July into early August, just a few days ago. So we were starting to see these things fall off. That is a great sign. We can definitely move towards phase 3 if we continue those efforts. So remember those mitigation efforts that we talked about. Again, phase 2 going to last at least until August 28th. May move into phase 3 at that point if we can keep those case counts low, get those people out of the hospital. Yesterday, the governor did address the firehouse barbecue situation in Watson. He called it reckless and unlawful. If you don't remember, it's kind of become a pretty hot story. Firehouse Barbecue on Friday, so about 6 days ago, announced that the Louisiana Department of Health had visited them. They had told their staff that they did not have to wear masks because they were concerned about health side effects. So they also told their patrons that they didn't have to wear masks as well. Under the mask mandate, that is a violation. Louisiana Department of Health came back for a second visit and they dinged them, which means that, well, it's more than a ding. That's not a good way to put it. They had gotten dinged the first time, or dinged the first time. The second time, they were told immediately upon order to close, and they put a sign out front, listed some things that Firehouse Barbecue had to do. Firehouse Barbecue then went out and said, we're not closing and we're not requiring masks. So the governor did say yesterday that not only was it reckless, but that the state would be looking at further response to Firehouse. They were still kind of working through how they wanted to do that. Immediately after that announcement, Firehouse Barbecue posted on their Facebook page that now is the time for a rally or a picket line because someone had told them that they were coming to get arrested. That, of course, was not true. Whatever action is taken will be business related. But the governor did say that there will be further action. So we will be digging in on that. We also did receive from the State Fire Marshal's office the first part of our records request. We do see the tests now, or the inspection reports for those LDH individuals or those fire marshal individuals who inspected businesses based on the mask mandate. We do have several businesses who have complained that the communication was not clear between the state and them as to how they were to have the signage up, because a few people did just get dinged for signage. So we are going to be talking to them and seeing what changes they made. According to several reports on Livingston Parish businesses, whatever the problem was fixed while the person was there, and that was reported in, or that was part of their inspection report. So we will be digging into those, myself and David Gray, over the next day or so, looking at each one. Again, there was 24 businesses that received an infraction from the state regarding the mask mandate here in Livingston Parish. Firehouse Barbecue is one. So we'll look at those inspection reports and try to release exactly what happened to some of these businesses. There is another report out there at this point, still a little unsubstantiated, but there is a report that one business received an infraction from the Louisiana Department of Health while closed. So we're trying to get confirmation that they were in fact closed when the inspection came. We will let you know. With the governor's announcement, that pushes us into schools. Schools are going to start in phase 2, which is the hybrid learning at home and at school. They will go 2 days a week if they are grades 3 through 12, and a third day every other week. So you'll either go Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, depending on what day you are. The best way to find that is to go to your student's Power School page. It should be above where that lists all their classes to find out if they are A or B. Now, those in grades pre-K through second, got to remember the pre-K. If you watch the podcast with myself and Superintendent Joe Murphy, you'll know that he was like, we have to include pre-K. We've got to include pre-K. Pre-K through second will be going full-time to school because they have to get that verbal learning and those social cues. It's very important at that age that they attend class. So those classes are going to have some extra precautions set forth. We are going to be talking with Superintendent Joe Murphy this afternoon about getting some of those COVID response deals. Kind of a busy day yesterday. They had a lot of committees come out, committee meetings come out from about 2 until 7 because they have a board meeting this Thursday. So please remember, school will start, and sorry about that. Let's see if we get through it. There it is. School will start on Friday, this Friday, and students will be in phase 2. Now, one thing that is coming up, and we're going to kind of backtrack after we talk about this before I really get into it, but 93% of students have opted for on-campus learning at this time. That means that only 7% of the roughly 26,500 or 27,000 students will be learning from home or choosing the virtual option. One of the things, and this is the backtrack real quick, one of the things the school system is asking is if you can transport your child to school, please do so. Bus situations are very complicated, very fluid at the moment. Of course, one of the things that we will be asking Mr. Murphy about is what happens if a bus driver tests positive. So we're going to be talking to him about that later today. But again, right now, bus situations are fluid. They have limits on how many kids can get on any singular bus. So if you are electing to send, your child to school, and 93% of kids are going, please, if you can, commit to driving them to school on the days they have school, especially if they're 3 through 12 on those 3 days they have school. Of course, those of us, I have one that would have to be transported, but I have one that can drive. So thankfully I have one that can drive. I know not everyone does. So if you can, please try to drive your child to school. try to get them to and from school to make that bus situation easier. But anyway, falling back into that virtual school, only 7% attendance here in Livingston Parish for the virtual option. You must commit to it for a grading period. In high school, that's a 9-week period. In lower than that, so I guess 3 through 12, that's going to be a commitment of a semester. So that may have factored into a lot of people's decisions, but you cannot flip back and forth. You have to commit to a certain time period. Now, the only exception to that is perhaps if you get sick, you can switch over to virtual, and there will be some leeway in that. And we're going to try to get clarification from the school, but I know that's probably going to be a very fluid situation for them. Nearby, in certain other districts, there's anywhere from 33% to 50% virtual school attendance. And when I say nearby, that's Central, Ascension, and Zachary. Those systems are experiencing high volume of virtual school, whereas Livingston Parish, again, between 7 and 8%. It's actually closer, with the final number, it's closer to 8% of the total student body. And again, school does start Friday. So big reminder here, please call your school if you haven't already. If you need help finding out which day your child is, if you need to get them signed up for virtual school, if you need that list of required materials, if you need to find out how Google Classroom works, if you need technology at home, they do have extra through the school board. You have to sign an agreement to check it out, but they can help you out if you do need that. Football practice has begun in some way, shape, or form for all the schools. Mr. Rob DeArmond, our sports editor, is bouncing around from school to school this week, kind of getting a feel for how each squad is doing their practice differently. Everybody is doing it a little differently. Yesterday, he talked to Coach Brett Beard at Denham Springs, asked him about what it was like to see his guys in helmets, but they're still going to be holding off on shoulder pads and pants for a while. On Monday, he got to talk to Coach Westmoreland up at Live Oak. I believe today he's going to be out at Albany or Springfield, and tomorrow he will be at Walker. We are going to be sitting down to do a podcast tomorrow afternoon, myself and Mr. Rob, to talk about sports and what's going on with the phases and how everybody's treating it. So recommend you check that out tomorrow afternoon. I am doing a podcast today with Mr. Jamie Fontenot from Expert Pest Services. I hope you guys will be on the lookout for that this afternoon. Lots of pests here in South Louisiana. And even if you don't watch the podcast, go like his page. A lot of interesting stuff. Unless you have a weak stomach, then I wouldn't recommend it. There is some interesting stuff on there. Going back to these coronavirus statistics real quick, 124,461 cases, 3,937 deaths, 1,449,857 tests, 74,246 have recovered, 1,487 are hospitalized on 24 ventilators. In Livingston Parish, 2,718 cases, 49 deaths on 25,625 tests. Those mitigation efforts, again, wear a mask in public. It is a mandate. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others in public. Wash hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. Control your cough and sneezing with an elbow or a tissue, preferably your own elbow. Don't touch your face. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor, and stay home to work if at all possible. And let's let this pass. There we go. And your on-ramps are slow today because there is a major delay, a heavy delay, right after O'Neill on I-12 westbound. Please keep that in mind. Minor delays on 4H Club Road, River Road, and 190 at that intersection as folks maybe try the surface streets out since there are delays on the interstate. And minor delays on 64 heading into Central. Currently 77 degrees, 93 degrees is your high today, 71 your overnight low. Looking at a few clouds today. 20-30% chance of rain this afternoon, maybe some spot showers. Wouldn't hurt to bring that umbrella to work. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. We are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. It's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. Please remember, we're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a breaking news page, which is free, statewide news, national news, as well as arrests and accidents. We do have a coronavirus page, which is free, which is all of our coronavirus information. We also upload these shows to our free page, which is a podcast page. There are audio and video versions for you to check out. That is also free. We do hope you guys have a great day. Again, thanks for joining us as we barrel towards the start of school here on Friday, and we will see you tomorrow morning.